Have you ever been curious about the historical myths you've been misled by? From uncovering the truth about Cleopatra's heritage to debunking the infamous cherry tree story of George Washington, we're about to expose some of history's most captivating misconceptions. Get ready to challenge what you thought you knew and ignite your curiosity as we unravel these fascinating myths. Contrary to popular belief, Roman Emperor Nero did not play the fiddle while Rome burned. This story likely emerged from later historians to criticize Nero's perceived negligence and mismanagement. Although Nero may have played the lyre, there's no evidence he did so during the fire. The Trojan horse is purely a mythological tale. The Trojan horse was never real. It's a legendary story from Greek mythology meant to dramatize and mystify Greece's victory over Troy. There's no archaeological proof of its historical reality. Cleopatra was not of Egyptian ancestry, she was Macedonian Greek. She belonged to the Ptolemaic dynasty, which was founded by one of Alexander the Great's generals. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. By the time Columbus arrived in 1492, many indigenous civilizations like the Aztecs, Mayans, Incas, and numerous tribes across North and South America had been thriving for thousands of years. These indigenous peoples had explored and developed these lands long before Europeans arrived. Additionally, Viking explorers led by Leif Erikson had already established a settlement named Vinland in what is now Newfoundland, Canada, around the year 1000, nearly 500 years before Columbus. Newton did not develop his theory of gravity from an apple falling on his head. While Newton did observe an apple fall, which led him to contemplate why objects fall toward the earth, there's no evidence that the apple hit him. The Middle Ages were not a period of stagnation. This era saw the founding of the first universities in Europe, including the University of Bologna, the University of Paris, and the University of Oxford. It also brought significant advancements in medicine and mathematics in the Muslim and Indian worlds. George Washington did not chop down a cherry tree in his youth. The cherry tree story was created to symbolize Washington's honesty and integrity, serving as a moral lesson for young Americans about the importance of truthfulness. Benjamin Franklin did not discover electricity. The ancient Greeks had already observed static electricity, and by the 17th and early 18th centuries, European scientists like William Gilbert, Otto von Guericke, and Stephen Gray had made significant contributions to the study of electricity. Ninjas did not traditionally wear all-black outfits as depicted in modern media. Historically, ninjas dressed to blend into their environment, wearing practical, close-fitting clothing suited to their surroundings and missions. Ancient Greek and Roman statues were not all white. Originally, they were painted in vibrant colors, a practice known as polychromy. Traces of paint on many sculptures reveal that they were originally colored to enhance their lifelike appearance, rather than the plain white marble we see today. During the Middle Ages, people were not universally unhygienic. Public bathhouses were common in towns and cities, and urban waste management was a significant concern. Moreover, religious practices often emphasized cleanliness as part of spiritual and ritual purity. Medieval torture devices were less commonly used than is often portrayed. Many famous devices, like the Iron Maiden, are likely more myth than reality. Chastity belts were not widely used during the Middle Ages. They were introduced by a German engineer as satire during the 15th century, making their actual use during the Middle Ages unlikely to be as common as often suggested. The 100 Years' War did not last exactly 100 years. It extended for 116 years, from 1337 to 1453, despite its name suggesting a century-long conflict. The Black Death was not spread by rats themselves, but by fleas on the rats, which transmitted the plague bacteria to humans. The fall of the Berlin Wall did not directly cause the unification of Germany. It marked the beginning of the end of Germany's division, but the formal reunification of East and West Germany occurred on October 3, 1990. Cowboys are often exaggerated in modern media, portrayed as lawless and chaotic. In reality, many frontier towns had organized communities with relatively low crime rates. Cowboys frequently worked as cattle herders and ranchers, contributing to the development of the American West. Additionally, they did not wear cowboy hats as commonly depicted. Joseph Ignace Guillotin did not die by the guillotine. He passed away in 1814 from natural causes. Not all gladiators were slaves. Many were volunteers who fought for fame, money, or to settle debts, though slaves and prisoners of war also became gladiators. During the stock market crash of 1929, no one jumped from buildings. This myth likely arose from dramatic depictions rather than actual events. Germany did not invade the Soviet Union in winter during World War II. Operation Barbarossa, Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union, began in June 1941. Lady Godiva did not ride naked through Coventry as a protest against high taxes. Historical evidence suggests this famous event was likely a myth rather than a factual occurrence. Marco Polo did not introduce pasta to Italy after his travels to China. The myth originated from a newsletter by an American pasta association called the Macaroni Journal. Pasta was already known in Italy long before Marco Polo's time. Spices in the Middle Ages were not used to cover up the taste of rotten meat. Spices were expensive and luxurious, and those who could afford them also could afford fresh meat. Julius Caesar did not invent the Caesar salad. The dish was created in Tijuana by Caesar Cardini, an Italian-American cook. Ronald Reagan was never seriously considered for the role of Rick Blaine in the 1942 film Casablanca. Although an initial press release mentioned Reagan, the studio was aware he would be unavailable due to his upcoming military service. Hitler did not create the Autobahn. The construction of the Autobahn began during the Weimar Republic era, and Hitler later expanded and promoted it for economic and propaganda purposes once he was in power. Mussolini did not make the trains run on time. Achievements in Italy's rail system's punctuality and efficiency were either exaggerated by propaganda or attributable to improvements made before his rise to power. Not all American colonists wanted independence from Britain. The colonists were divided into patriots, who supported independence, loyalists, who remained loyal to Britain, and neutrals, who were indifferent or undecided. Walt Disney was not cryogenically frozen. He was cremated, and his ashes were scattered at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in California. The Mayan calendar did not predict the end of the world in 2012. Experts clarified that this date marked the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one, similar to how our calendar starts a new year after December 31st. Not everyone in the colonial era wore wigs. Wig wearing was primarily a fashion trend among the wealthy and elite classes, including politicians, lawyers, and merchants, particularly in the 17th and 18th centuries. The Pilgrims did not first land at Plymouth Rock. They initially landed elsewhere, possibly in Provincetown. Plymouth Rock later became a symbolic site representing where they eventually disembarked, but it was not the exact location of their first landing. The Vikings were not a unified group. They were a collection of seafaring Norse tribes and communities from Scandinavia, including present-day Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. The Spanish Inquisition did not kill millions. While it did persecute and execute thousands, particularly Jews, Muslims, and heretics, the actual number of people killed is estimated to be in the tens of thousands. Ferdinand Magellan did not complete the circumnavigation of the globe. While Magellan initiated the voyage in 1519 and led it until his death in the Philippines in 1521, the circumnavigation was completed by his crew under the command of Juan Sebastián Elcano. Gladiators did not always fight to the death. While some matches ended in death, many were designed to entertain the audience without being fatal. The decision to kill a defeated gladiator often depended on the crowd's reaction and the sponsor's wishes. Isaac Newton did not exclusively invent calculus. He developed a form of calculus independently around the same time as Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. The Library of Alexandria was not destroyed in a single event. It suffered multiple instances of damage and destruction over several centuries, including during the Roman conquest of Alexandria in 48 BCE and later events, including attacks by various forces and the city's decline. The Roman Empire did not fall in a single event in 476 AD. The Western Roman Empire is considered to have fallen when the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer. The Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, continued to exist for nearly another 1,000 years, until the fall of Constantinople in 1453. Vincent van Gogh did not cut off his entire ear in December 1888. He severed part of his left ear, specifically the lower lobe, during a mental health crisis. He wrapped the severed piece in cloth and gave it to a woman at a nearby brothel. The Pilgrims and Native Americans did not initially have a harmonious relationship. While they had a relatively good relationship during the first Thanksgiving in 1621, conflicts and tensions eventually arose, leading to disputes and wars like King Philip's War, which severely strained relations. Romans did not speak only Latin in their daily lives. While Latin was the official language of the Roman Republic and later the Roman Empire, used in government, literature, and legal matters, many Romans also spoke Greek and various local languages. Henry VIII did not execute all of his 6 wives. 2 of his wives, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, were executed, but the remaining 4 were either divorced or outlived him. Napoleon Bonaparte was not extremely short. He was actually around 5 feet 6 inches to 5 feet 7 inches tall, which was average height for his time. The myth of Napoleon's short stature may have originated from differences between French and British measurements or from propaganda. Marie Antoinette did not say, "Let them eat cake," in response to the French Revolution's bread shortages. The phrase was attributed to her in propaganda to depict her as out of touch with the common people. The Great Wall of China is not a single continuous wall. It consists of various sections built by different Chinese dynasties over centuries, spanning thousands of miles. The medieval period was not characterized by constant war and ignorance. There were significant advancements in art, science, and philosophy, including works by scholars like Thomas Aquinas, and advances in architectural techniques, exemplified by Gothic cathedrals. Albert Einstein did not fail math in school. This myth likely arises from a misunderstanding of Einstein's academic record. He excelled in mathematics and science, and his later accomplishments, such as the theory of relativity, reflect his proficiency. The Sphinx did not originally have a nose. The Great Sphinx of Giza has been missing its nose for centuries, likely due to erosion and vandalism. We've only scratched the surface of historical myths and their truths. Which myth surprised you the most? Share your thoughts, and any myths you'd like us to tackle next in the comments below. If you enjoyed this myth-busting journey and want more fascinating content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the History Intrigued community. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.